Hi everybody, and welcome back to the bench. We are now up to part 3 of our McIntosh MC2100 video, and I'm too lazy to go down to the shop and get my tripod so I can get a better shot here, so I just kind of moved the camera around on the bench stand here as far as it'll go. So that's as good as it's going to get. Anyway, we're going to kind of continue on where we left off. I've done a few things since the last video, and most of this is going to be cosmetic stuff. And I'm still kind of working through deciding just how far I want to take this, and who knows? We'll see. But the biggest question that I have right now is how I want to deal with the transformers, and let's show you what all I've done so far. So you can see I really had to tear this thing down. I kept trying to clean around everything, and it just got to be more bother than it was worth, and it was easier just to strip everything down to the chassis and kind of clean it up. And so I took this down to the shop, and I took it to the buffing wheel and just did a buff on it. I still haven't used any of the polishing compound. We'll get into that later on. But just preliminary, it came out pretty good. Now, you can see there is still some pitting on there, and you're not going to ever be able to get rid of that without stripping it down to bare metal and re-chroming it. And I'm not going to do that because I really don't want to try to deal with redoing the lettering and so forth. So this is as good as it's going to get. I'll do a little more polishing on it. That's about all. But you can see, like, this part of it, look how nice. Really nice. And even the part that was really heavily pitted cleaned up well. The underside really cleaned up nicely. So I'm very pleased with that. But what I really want to show you is the transformers back here. Let me get them out here and show you. So I cleaned up these transformers as best I could, and you can see, like, this one has a little bit of damage on it. It's kind of dented right here, this one autoformer. And if you get up really close, you can see there's a lot of rust and pitting, and there's no way that this is just going to clean up. It really should be painted, but here's where I'm going to ask your advice. I'm going to kind of take a little poll here. This is going to be a really short video. I'm not going to do a whole lot on this video. I'm going to get this out there so I can get some answers. What do you guys think I should do? In one hand, I think about leaving it alone and kind of leaving it natural looking like this and putting it all back together. On the other hand, I think about taking it and completely stripping it to bare metal, maybe even doing a little bit of Bondo, filling in some of these cracks, and then spray painting it like a semi-gloss black, kind of what it was originally. The problem with that is we're going to lose these labels. They're pretty bad to begin with. You can see, of course you could mask these off, but if you look how crooked these all are, whenever you paint up to a label, it never looks right. At least to me, it just never did. It looks like you painted around the label. So I could do that, and you'd kind of see it, and it would look like you painted it. I could strip the labels off, and we're going to lose the labels. These are they are metal, but if you peel them off, it ruins them. It's really hard. I've had a really hard time flattening these out and properly reapplying them, especially over a painted surface. So chances are, if we take these labels off, we're going to lose them. So you're going to lose some of the original look of these transformers, which I don't know if I want to do that or not. So there's 3 options. Leave them alone, clean them up, leave them like this. Strip them down, paint them totally, and we lose the labels, or try to mask off the labels, paint around them. What do you guys think? I'm really torn. I don't know what I want to do in this case. This amp was pretty old, and it was pretty beat up when I got it, as you remember. Had a lot of pitting and a lot of rust. I'm not going to put the expense or wait the amount of time it would take to send that chassis out to have it re-chromed or powder coated. So I'm going to leave it as is. It's good enough that I think it's presentable. But these are another story, and I'm not sure what to do. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Let's see what you all think and see if we can all come to a decision together. What do you think the best idea is? So let me know down in the comments on that. Now to this is the divider, and this old capacitor, it feels dried out. It's so light. It's like you can tell these things, this feels like it's about dried out. It tested okay from a ESR standpoint, but the capacitance is starting to read a little high, so I think this is starting to go. I'm not going to leave it. Even if it's going to last a couple years, I'd rather it last 30 years. So I printed up, just kind of in my own little print shop, printed up a little board, and I mounted it in place of that. And I'm using paralleled capacitors, so that will lower the ESR. Actually, that's an advantage. Also, they're very low profile, so they don't even stick out as far as the original. So I think that'll work really well. Again, with this amp, I'm not as worried about keeping it original. It's had too many damaged parts, and this, if there's ever one that we wanted to do some experimenting with, I think this was a good candidate. So this cleaned up really well. You remember how cruddy it was. And I'm going to show you now what I'm doing here with the chassis. Now, if you recall, when this thing first came in, there were screws missing, and then somebody had driven different kinds of wood screws and things up through this to mount the heat sinks, and it really messed up the threads, you know, for these screw holes here. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I use. A lot of you probably know this trick, but maybe some of you don't. All you need is 2 hammers. And we can fix these holes sometimes, as long as they haven't been too badly damaged and wallered out by putting the wrong screws in. So if we look at this one, for instance, see how that's kind of raised up? You can see that. Well, one thing we could do is, let's get a little bit better into the picture here. So if you take the one hammer and you kind of balance this over that hole, I'm going to do this around the camera, and then you take another hammer and just kind of tap it down like that. See how that kind of flattens it down? And what that does is that kind of closes that up, and if you have an original screw, like this is one of the, I believe one of the original ones, you can see now it actually is so tight it won't go in. I'll have to force it in, and I'm not going to do that. But it basically resets these holes so that you can use them again. So you just go through, and you can see that flattens it right out, and now makes it good as new. So there's your little tech tip. What else? Well, that's about all I'm going to do for this video. And like I said, really short, because I really wanted to put this out there. I want to hear what you all think about the transformers, what I should do. The other problem is, now that winter is setting in, the shop is only warm when I'm down there and I turn the heat on. I don't leave the heat on in the shop when I'm not there for obvious reasons. And so the paint isn't going to be the greatest on earth, but however, on the weekends I could go in maybe this weekend and do the whole thing in the morning, spray it, and then let it sit there, let it dry enough that it's, you know, dry to the touch, and then bring it in the house and let it finish curing. So we probably could repaint them, but like I said, I keep changing my mind, so hopefully I'll get some opinions and help me make up my mind. And last but not least, I pulled this whole harness out and just gave it a good cleaning, and it turned out perfect. So all the wires look really good, and I think we can put it all back in. So that's where I'm going to end this for right now. I'll get this posted up, and then we'll decide what to do with our transformers. And just so you remember, this bottom cover is a big mess. You can see how much rust and everything's on it, so it's definitely going to get stripped down and redone. The back part here is really bad, so that's all going to get replaced or get repainted anyway. So it's not like I won't be down the shop. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. So until next time, I want you all to take care, and I wish you all peace, joy, happiness, and good health, and we'll talk to you soon.